Hey everyone, coming up, we're going to talk about the worst show possibly in history, the 8th Voyage of Sinbad at Islands of Adventure, plus a lot more. So live from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is episode 82 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect vacation. Please visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Oh wow, I forgot how to do this. It's been a while. It's been actually 3 weeks. Yes, it has been 3 weeks. I am your host.
Your ghost host.
Your ghost host with the most, Craig Williams. Yes, that is me. That's me. And today I am joined in the back with, I still don't know if it's with or by. You know, in the back is associate producer Rhino Clavin.
Hello. I'm joined with, or I'm joined by.
I don't want to say joined anymore. Also in the room.
I am accompanied by. No,
also in the room is Rhino Clavin, associate producer, as well as first comer on this show, our other associate producer, Oliver Green.
Hello, everybody.
Ole.
So for those of you who only watch this show and not the Tuesday show, Oliver is our brand new associate producer at the Diz. So he will be joining us now on the Universal show. He's a huge Universal fan from what I've discovered, mostly because he told me.
I am. You're not wrong.
You dug real deep for that one.
Yeah, I put him through a big questionnaire. Said, "Do you like Universal?"
We had what they call
yes.
a conversation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. A back and forth.
Yes, it was a good back and forth. So hopefully his insight and also his Britishness, if you couldn't pick up on that before, will bring a fresh new perspective to this show that we currently didn't have before. So before we get too started too, as you can see, Jenny Lynn isn't here right now. She just couldn't be here today, so she will be back with us next week. Hey, the fact that we're even going up today after 3 weeks of missing out on shows, it's good that we get it. So one person short right now. But
one porpoise short.
One porpoise short, but we'll get the other person back in next week, and we'll finally be a Fuller House all over again.
Oh my God, a Carly Rae Jepsen gem.
Yes, it was her gem.
She sings the theme song to Fuller House. You're looking at me like I got two heads. God.
No, I already knew that. Somebody had already told me that.
You're in America, Oliver.
Sorry.
It's time to start learning things.
Okay. I'm not going to open up that can of worms.
Fantastic. So, Oliver, do you want to share anything with our audience before we get started about yourself for those who don't know you yet?
Yeah,
Talk
sure.
about Universal a little bit. All that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of theme parks overall, especially in the Orlando area. I've been coming for years. Back and forth, all the way from jolly old England.
Yeah.
I've got a healthy amount of knowledge about Universal. I've got a healthy fandom for Universal. And
when's the first time you went?
Years, 1996, I believe.
Okay, so
years ago.
So now I have a fellow '90s Universal person because I was the only one who had well. You know,
I was born in 91 and I went in 96, so. But yeah, that's when I first went. Sorry.
I've never wanted to slap you
so
more.
We got a baby on board.
Yeah.
But you've seen Universal at an era that I haven't seen, so right there we get a nice new fresh look at it. Should all be good. I'm excited for this. I don't know if you guys are. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. We're still doing this anyway. But yeah, we have a huge, massive show today. 8th Voyage of Sinbad. I mean, we've been talking this one up now for weeks about doing this show, and we're going to do it. I promise we are going to do it.
Unfortunately, we're doing it.
Unfortunately, we have to do it. We've already locked it in. And we are going to do that in just a little bit, but obviously a lot of news has actually happened. Not a lot, really. We're going to talk about 3 things. Those are the only 3 things that have happened.
There's an overwhelming amount of news right now.
It's a very exciting news, though. I'll say that. It's not a lot of news, but very exciting news. So I think we are going to kick it off, and we are going to jump into... Rhino, what are we jumping into?
The buzz.
Okay, the buzz. It's our little crappy take on news that we seem to do once every while whenever we actually have news. So first off, if you haven't been, unless you've been living in a hole for all of this morning, then you probably have heard the news that NBC Universal has acquired DreamWorks Animation. That is the first topic we are going to discuss. So
that's breaking, though. So, like, our news stories, though we've been gone for a while, they are current now.
We have one breaking one not breaking but still relevant, and then one that happened last week.
Yeah.
But, so, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. There's been rumors circulating for the past couple of days at the start of this week that Comcast was looking to buy DreamWorks Animation, not DreamWorks in general. DreamWorks, of course, split off. There's DreamWorks Animation, home of movies like Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, these huge franchises that come out over and over again. And then on the other side of the house, you have DreamWorks, the live-action film studio. So Steven Spielberg kind of went with the live-action films. Jeffrey Katzenberg, he went with the animation, and they had their own 2 little houses. So,
wait a minute. I might have misheard you in the beginning. They bought both, right?
No, they bought
just
DreamWorks
the
animation.
Oh, so
not DreamWorks. DreamWorks as a whole does not exist anymore. It's DreamWorks Animation.
It's always
and then
separate now.
DreamWorks. Yes.
Okay.
So Universal they ended up getting the distribution deal on live action, right?
Yes, yeah. Because there was a big thing. It was Steven Spielberg's home again.
He was returning home. That's right. So, they have distribution for live action, and now they own... Well, not yet. By the end of 2016, whenever the whole deal is finished off, they will officially own DreamWorks Animation, and they add on all of those great films that I already mentioned. Well, I don't know if we can qualify Madagascar as great, but certainly some of the Shrek movies are classics. How to Train Your Dragon easily rivals Disney movies, Disney animation.
I still haven't seen them yet. I got to see them.
Yeah, I do have a problem because, DreamWorks has that flaw where they get really big voice actors, not really big voice actors, really big actors to do their voices. So, like, for me, as the main character of How to Train Your Dragon is Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, so you can hear.
And it's like, well, that's him. And when you hear... whenever you hear some of their characters, Gerard Butler is his dad in that movie. It sticks out as, well, I'm listening to Jay and Gerard. So I'm not always a fan of that, but their storytelling, especially in those movies, has just...
Well, I love Kung Fu Panda.
It's brilliant. And Kung Fu Panda, another huge one. The 3rd Kung Fu Panda is about to come out.
I haven't... You mean on Blu-ray? Because it came out of the movie theater in January.
Did it already?
Yeah, and it was.
Did it
was
really
a
just
success.
blow past me?
Yeah. It was an unexpected release date because it came out in January and it did well, and it was critically did well, and I missed it too. I seen the other 2 in the movie. I've seen the other 2 in the movie theater, and I'm upset I've missed this one. So
I got to be honest. DVD. I genuinely 100% did not know that it already came out in theaters. I don't think
the marketing was very heavy for this one for some reason. It was just kind of like, it's coming, here's the thing, and it was come and gone.
Skadoosh. But also the thing that we're not seeing with DreamWorks Animation is there's actually even more deep down that I didn't even know that DreamWorks owned as a part of DreamWorks Classic. They own the characters of Where's Waldo.
Oh.
But the exciting ones are they own Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh. Like the stop motion ones?
I believe, yes, that's all a part of their
that's
branch.
Exciting.
So I could be wrong. I mean, that's what Universal said in their press release, is that they were acquiring these products as part of DreamWorks Classic as well too. So with that, plus the movies that they were already making before, and then we kind of forget that DreamWorks had a pretty successful run of movies before they really got into like Shrek and the computer animation. They had the Prince of Egypt.
Yep.
That was very, very popular whenever it came out at the time. So
there's another one too from back then. I can't remember. I read it this morning and I was like, oh yeah, that's an old one.
Road to El Dorado was Fox, right?
No, maybe it is Road to El Dorado that I'm thinking of. It was something around the time, and it looks very similar to The Prince of Egypt, and that's why maybe no.
Oh no, it was. Yeah, it was
Is
DreamWorks.
Yeah.
So, and Elton John did the music for that movie, so it was big for that reason. So yeah, there's a lot of heft coming in with this deal, and NBC was acquiring DreamWorks Animation, and right now the equity value of it is $3.8 billion. And just to put that in perspective, Star Wars was bought for about $4 billion. So it's
Marvel
hefty,
too, right?
Hefty amount of money being thrown down for DreamWorks Animation, which some people see as a very slipping product. They had all the layoffs a while ago in their animation realm to try to cut costs for going over budget.
Well, the thing about DreamWorks Studio that I think people sometimes overlook is that it's not the size of Sony. Or I don't know why I said Sony. Sony's a big studio too, but Fox or Warner Brothers, it's nowhere near that caliber. It's a smaller, I want to use the word boutique almost, but it's a little bit bigger than that. But they've always been reliant on others for distribution, pretty much. So the fact that I don't know. I don't know.
Now, Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg really were hoping that DreamWorks would become one of the big names, and it just never really panned out. But to say that they're not successful at what they do is a gross understatement. And I think this actually fits in well. DreamWorks has been known for such a long time now of really, they churn out sequels to their movies, and they try to build them as franchises. And they've done a pretty good job at it. I feel like Universal, at the same time too, has learned a lot through stuff like Fast and Furious, and now rebooting Jurassic World. They're starting to understand the sequel game too, and how to build these big actual good franchises. So
universes and whatever.
Exactly. I think it's a nice blend together. A couple things going along with it too. Obviously. In terms of theme parks, which is what we're all about here, especially on the show, it means that right now they're going to now no longer have to license these DreamWorks characters. Mm-hmm. They can actually bring them in and own them and have them in the theme parks, as long as there's not any weird rights with other theme parks that might currently have it, kind of like in the Disney, Marvel, Universal dispute. But it's going to bring in multiple things. It's going to add a brand new kid element to Universal by being able to bring in these characters. And just thinking about it in that way, having, going from Universal being kind of outdated in its kid zone with Barney and Woody Woodpecker
Curious
and
George,
Fievel, all those together. And now you're looking at Nintendo's coming in on top of DreamWorks being able to have a bigger presence in, and then the fact that it looks like Secret Life of Pets is going to be a huge movie. Yeah. All of a sudden now, and Universal is bound
Me too. They've got that too. Yeah.
It's just Universal's opening up these new doors where I think they're going to really push for the kids market. And with a smart acquire like DreamWorks Animation, they are actually going to be able to bolster their offerings for children that they never could before because of outdated, irrelevant intellectual properties that they had in there. So
DreamWorks is similar to Disney in the sense where they'll get that property, they tell, like you said, they tell the story about the franchises, but almost every one of those movies we named too have TV shows, because there was a How to Train Your Dragon TV show, there is a Kung Fu Panda TV show, there was the Penguins of Madagascar movie, but there was also a TV show, and it's all through Nickelodeon too, which is a major brand, know, and so it's which I don't know how that deal works with that, but Universal has a history with Nickelodeon, and it's just kind of to me immediately I saw that announcement and I was just like, I can't wait to see if there's going to be a DreamWorks section of the park.
The only thing I'm upset about is if you've watched or listened to the show enough, you've heard that we don't have the highest opinion of Shrek 4D.
No.
So
I mean, I love John Lithgow, don't get me wrong.
Of course, we all love John Lithgow. We even love Mike Myers.
He's an American treasure, Oliver.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh, God.
Do you know who John Lithgow is?
Do you know who John Lithgow is? He's talking to you, because I know who he is. He slapped that dancing girl right in the face in the church.
I want to say yes. just because I'm scared what will happen if I say no.
Third Rock from the Sun. He's the
Is he
main
the short
character.
one? Oh yeah, I know the balding gentleman.
Yes.
Yes, I know who he is. Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, Oliver. Fantastic. So,
I'm on board.
Oliver, do you have anything to say about this? Because people want to make sure that you get to speak.
Oh no, yeah, that's why I was staying quiet. I don't have too much to add. I just think it was they paid a lot more for it than they should have. That's the only input I've got for it, and I think that we've kind of covered up why, because it's going to open up so many more markets for them, so many more channels. So I can see why they were so happy to pay what I think is an inflated price for it. So,
have you seen any of those movies? Do you like those movies?
I've seen.
I'm just curious.
I think it'll fit in very well with what Universal does at the minute. There's nothing that's going to feel out of place. If they were to develop any of the franchises that they've now inherited, it's not going to feel unique. Like Harry Potter almost feels like unique in the parks.
Yeah.
But that, it has its own section almost. So it works.
Yeah.
But anything else, if they were to build like a standalone attraction, it's not going to look out or feel out of place.
Yeah, but
it fits in perfectly.
I would love if, as much as I'm sick of Shrek 4D, if they could build like an entire like enchanted forest or Duloc aspect to it.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Like you
I
go
could get into it in
the
that
castle.
way.
Yeah, that would be.
I think the one last good piece of information from this is obviously, I think I've said Jeffrey Katzenberg's name at some point in this. Instead, he is taking obviously a nice payout by making this deal, but he's actually going to stay on and be a part of the chairman of DreamWorks still in that aspect, and then he's also going to be a consultant to NBC Universal. So I think that's a nice part of that relationship too, is that they're going to keep friendly. And I mean, Jeffrey Katzenberg has been in the industry for so long now. He's such a big player in it. The fact that Universal now has him speaking in their ear about decisions.
Do you think
that
that Universal is going to keep their animation section separate from DreamWorks too, the way that Disney has like Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel? Do you think it'll be like, I forget, it's not Illuminati, but what's the name?
It's Illumination Entertainment.
Illumination Entertainment.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be, here's the Illumination?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's all going to be separate. They're,
so they have
that
two
helps.
In-house now animated studios, which is interesting too. Yeah,
that branding helps. It's like that's why Pixar
versus
is able
Disney Studios.
the fact that Pixar has that name. Granted, it is Disney Pixar, but it's still Pixar.
Yeah,
DreamWorks is still DreamWorks. There's no point in trying to absorb something whenever people know that they can somewhat trust that DreamWorks name
that's
already.
true. That's true.
So, very exciting. We'll see how it plays out in the next couple years with new attractions and such. But we have to move on, and it's the end of April. So what's that mean? Halloween, of course.
Yeah, that's when I start.
Halloween.
Well, I start November 2nd. I just get to. Yeah. I like to get a real big head start.
As soon as it. Yeah. I start as soon as Christmas ends. It's Halloween.
It's all I care about. Yeah.
We do take a moment to celebrate 4th of July somewhere in the middle, but it's all about Halloween.
Yeah.
So we have two houses that have been announced so far for Halloween Horror Nights 26 in 2016. The first one that was released last week, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974 classic horror film.
Is it not? I'm sorry. Is it not talking about? I keep hitting the wrong button. I'm sorry. Is it not including the 2003?
No. This will be solely based off of the 1974 original movie. So not that there's anything wrong with 2003.
I thought the 2003 one was great. It was terrifying.
Yeah, Jessica Biel running around,
saving that baby.
Yeah, and
it's a good impression.
No, I Universal Hollywood tackled the 2003 movie a couple years ago. I want to say in 2012.
Okay.
So it's not for Halloween Horror Nights as a whole. Hollywood, all the places that do it. This isn't the first time, and even the character Leatherface, I believe he's shown up at Horror Nights before.
Yeah, I think so.
This is the first time it's been in the 1974 dedicated house.
That's cool.
Classic like that. He's going to be in it quite a bit. It's going to follow the exact storyline of the movie. It's going to be the five friends.
Good wheelchair guy in the woods.
They're on their trip, and
I hate that part.
cannibalistic family, Leatherface, all that good stuff. How do you feel about it?
I when they made this announcement, I was like, oh, that's okay. I already said, I think last year, about how the chainsaw people make me nervous to begin with, because even without the chain on it, it still can hurt you. And so I'm like immediately like, oh God, I'm going to hate this house in the way that I'm going to be scared, because it's going to be a lot. I'm assuming there'll be multiple Leatherfaces in there with the chainsaw, but you also kind of forget, like you said, there's the family. The family's creepy too. And like the house is cool. You know, I love a good house that is an actual house. So I love that. Like, I love imagining the aesthetic of what this is going to look like. That 70s washed out. Like, if you've never seen the original movie, it's
disgusting.
Yeah, it's hard to watch too, because it's just the way it's made too. It's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's got gore. I wouldn't say it's overly gory, especially on today's standards. It's just gross.
Yeah.
It's a gross movie to watch. You don't feel clean after watching it. And
Yeah.
so I know it's going to translate very well into a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have the ability to do well. On our site, I even wrote, like, I think about 2 years ago with Dollhouse of the Damned, and the one room that just was like covered with poop all over the walls, and it smelled disgusting. And they did that for that house, and they're
gonna do the meat,
what they could do.
like
I mean, it could be just sick.
Well, I imagine, because I don't know if I'm getting it mixed up with the 2003 one or the original, because I've seen them both, but I've seen the newer one more. But
clearly,
there's that movie scared the bejesus out of me, because I saw it in the woods was the problem too. So then you leave that theater and you've got to go back, and you're like, oh, this is a terrible idea.
Oliver, have you been to Halloween Horror Nights?
I have, yes.
You have?
How do you feel about getting scared?
Yeah, the chainsaw men do make me feel uneasy.
Well, is it like something you seek out? Do you look forward to Halloween Horror Nights, or is it like somebody brought you? That's what we should say.
No, I go, but it always amazes me how much more scared I am.
You need a little
when I'm
liquid
there.
courage there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to push other people right in front of anyone
Craig's
who
not
chases
gonna
me.
like that.
I don't enjoy tall. I'm pretty tall myself as well. I'm like 6'2", but I don't enjoy tall people when they run at me.
Oh yeah,
That's what gets me. And the whole character, because Leatherface,
Leatherface,
is
that's his
huge.
thing.
Yeah,
That's
he's
his running,
going to run,
yeah.
and he's absolutely, he's
Yeah.
huge. So, yeah, This
You
would be one
nervous?
I'd be, very
Yeah.
like, I'd be happy to maybe sit out of that.
Oh no, you'll be coming. If he made me do them all, you're definitely coming. I
Yeah,
know I'd love
you
to
have
do
to
them
do
I
all.
mean, I'm more excited about the other house that's coming, to be honest.
And we'll get there. I'm not bothered by the chainsaws. They more or less annoy me than anything else. They never scare me. And the only way I get scared by them is whenever it's just a really well-timed scare where I don't expect it coming.
through the crowd behind
and
you all of a
they
sudden.
get you out of nowhere. But that's that jump effect that I don't need a chainsaw to scare me in that way. It could just be a person go like it's.
I imagine the aliens from The Simpsons scaring you right then. Oh, human.
It doesn't even. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a chainsaw. So I think this is going to be one of those houses that's just very, very, very gross, as I've already said. I don't know how scary it will be. If you're not afraid of chainsaws, if you're afraid of chainsaws,
No, I think it could still be scary without it, because it's like there's a lot of scary elements, and I think this is what the 2003 movie did so well, is it brought out those elements that are in the original movie, that are like, that house is creepy, the family's off. There's a lot. There's so much bizarre. It just feels unsettling, and then on top of that, you've got a maniac who's got a person's face with a chainsaw running at you.
Well, talk about unsettling. The next house is going to be unsettling to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And that is arguably one of the scariest movies of all time. On most people's list as the scariest movie of all time.
I have a funny
The
story
Exorcist.
about this movie, too.
Go.
Not a funny story, but my dad apparently had seen this movie when he was younger. My dad was born in like 63, so I don't remember what year this came out. 77, 73. Yep. Yeah, so he would have been very young, and saw this movie, and in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, like the Ouija board made that comeback where like everybody's doing the Ouija board again, and so my dad found out I had it, and my because my parents are divorced, so my dad was at my house once, and he was like, he found out we had it, and his reaction, stone face, just, you're gonna burn that effing thing, and he said the word, and I remember like kind of laughing, and my dad went, right now. You're going to go get it, and we're going to burn it. And he made me get rid of it. Like,
It does terrify
Oh,
people.
no. He's scared. And I didn't know it was in the movie at that time. So I didn't. My mom explained it to me later. It was like, well, your father had a traumatic experience watching The Exorcist, but he won't tell anybody he's afraid of it. But he's afraid of it because of that movie. Like, my dad is not somebody who gets scared, who gets very emotional at all. So it was just a really awkward, and it just makes me kind of laugh sometimes when I think about it. But have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie.
Does it scare you?
It does.
Does it scare you,
Immensely.
Craig?
It doesn't scare me. It bothers me. I'm not afraid of any movies. I've never like sat there.
Tough guy,
and
yeah.
screamed. No, it's not a tough guy thing. It's just I can't turn off because I get into the film critic mode where I have to look at all the meaning and the purpose and everything, and it's very hard for me to turn off. I still do. Once I see a movie like 3 or 4 times. Exorcist is a movie I've probably only watched twice because it is just it's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's just I know the effects and everything they did back then. They are dated now, but it's just the idea that this looks very realistic at points. The
makeup still
idea
holds up
of
even now.
possession
Yeah, I agree.
is very disturbing
yeah,
to me.
that's what I was just going to say. You talked about how it's not jump out scary for you. It's like kind of the whole atmosphere, and that movie for me nails that because I mean you've got that. It's one of those movies that's built in that lore too, as you know, like things went wrong while they were filming this movie, and people like died while they were filming the movie, and that stairwell is notorious, and her and just all that stuff.
Well, and it's also about the characters. I mean, Linda Blair, who plays Reagan in it, talk about being put in a position. I mean, she acted the crap out of that role.
You know, she used to smoke cigarettes to her voice. That's her actual voice.
Such a young age. I think she was 12 whenever she did that. And then Ellen Burstyn, just her reactions to everything in the movie, how being her mother and just freaked out and terrified, like that also set the movie into such a scary realm because of it. And then like Max von Sydow,
I was just going to say,
himself is always a little off-putting. But then add on top of that too, one of the most iconic themes in a horror movie. I mean, right up there with the fact that Halloween.
Yeah.
And with Halloween's iconic theme, and then Exorcist has that same
ting ting, like
it's
like
just
high pitch.
You know, all of that elements
Don't
combined make a very scary movie. But I know it's going to be just like Halloween, where you're walking up to whenever we had the Halloween house a couple years ago, you walked up to that house, you heard the music.
That was one of my favorite houses.
Started in.
Yeah.
This is going to be the same way.
Put you in that mode.
Yeah. It's
So I have a question for you because there's a viewer or listener who pointed this out. I saw when the announcement was made. They were saying they were interested to see how it was going to be handled because this movie has very few locations. It's mostly what's the girl's name? Reagan's bedroom. Yeah, and it's the outside of the house and the inside of the house, and it's just the one room.
That's if you read about the movie, and even Michael Aiello, the creative director of entertainment, especially for Halloween Horror Nights, he even admitted it's very hard to translate this entire movie into a house because it all takes place in the bedroom, into her bedroom, and that was a choice by the filmmakers whenever they made the movie. Is that they wanted people to be so afraid every time you knew they were going into the bedroom. That's when the bad stuff was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's why they tried to keep as much out of it as possible, like the spider walk scene that
came back later.
Like exactly, stuff like that. They didn't want that outside their room. They wanted that fear to be built up. If they're talking outside, they're going to go in, and that's what's going to happen. And I mean, you're literally going to walk from room to room to room probably with just different setups and different aspects, but that's okay.
You can do because you can do the exterior of the house, and like Reagan's playing with the Ouija board. You've got that scene, and I'm sure that Universal is going to try and include the spider walk. Even you know, what I mean? It's signature.
You can't
at this
ignore
point.
it because it's such an iconic part of the film.
Yeah,
and
they had it. They had it in their teaser video. They showed the spider walk.
Oh, they did?
So I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but I think they're going to.
In the movie, it was just a Russian gymnast or something like that. It was a contortionist who did it. It's an actual person doing it. There's no like trick to it. It's just a person came down the stairs
for the house.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a casting call out there in the future. We'll have to watch for it, but. I think I like that these two movies are the same decade too. It's like kind of like they're going into those. They did American Werewolf in London in London. Yeah, sorry, last year, and these two fit together, and I'd like to see what the next property they go for is.
So we'll kind of end it here, but I'll give my trailing thoughts on all this, and we'll put it in there. But right now the first two houses they announced are two classic horror movies, which two in a row. That's awesome. That's incredible. On top of that, we didn't hear Walking Dead yet. And
that's good to me.
That might happen still eventually. Hasn't happened yet. Pushing on from that, it's expected that Krampus is going to come this year. So Hollywood, you saw Dark Christmas, their scare zone last year.
And it was great. And it reminded me, I think there was a Krampus character in there. Not Krampus the movie, but Krampus, the lore.
Sorry, and we keep saying Krampus. In German, it's Krampus. So we have to say it in the Austro-Germanic way of Krampus. So so we're gonna hear that announcement. It's got to be coming soon. That's a house that I would love.
That would be so cool. Can you imagine like the snow coming down and stuff?
I would love if they would keep that open through Halloween into Christmas, just because they have so much down right now.
Yeah,
just if it's in a tent, especially, they can still run it. It
can be. They have The Walking Dead in Hollywood, and now we could have our own little there's our haunted house. All year.
It can go away after the holidays, but just through that. But moving back on to the fact that they're classic movies, it's also they've been smart about it. Leatherface is an icon. Mm-hmm. What worked so well last year? One of the most popular houses, Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh yeah,
makes sense why they're bringing in Leatherface. Some of the best houses the past couple of years, American Werewolf in London, followed by Halloween the next year, bringing back American Werewolf. And then, although it's more of a new horror classic, but still disturbing, all taking place in a house, Insidious,
yeah.
So Exorcist fits in right with that theme. Right now, they're choosing houses that really play to what they've been doing well the past couple of years.
You think they'll do another Purge? Because there's another movie coming out this summer.
I think they're going to do
the election year. Do you think it'll be a scare zone, or you think it'll be a house?
House.
House.
So
how did it work as a house last year? Because I never went to Halloween Horror Nights last year. The year before.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't even see the
scare zone.
movies.
It worked so well. I enjoyed the scare zone immensely.
In Hollywood last year too, they did the terror tram was the Purge. So the way the tram broke down, there was also like a scare zone that you had to walk through. But then when they dropped you off, you basically walked through the movies, and that was crazy.
Clever.
And it was one of my favorite houses here, even though I hadn't seen the movies. So it was cool. It was good.
So it's really, really looking like it's going to be a great year for Halloween Horror Nights. So we'll talk about whatever houses are released in between now and then. But let's go ahead and get off the buzz train, and let's move on to our good old segment that we're actually doing on today's show, and that's the 8th Voyage of Sinbad. So for those of you out there who haven't been privileged enough at this point to see this stupid show, we're going to go ahead and show you about 6 minutes of it. It's about a 20-minute show. I cut down not the best parts, not even the worst parts. I just put in parts. It's all very random put together.
Best parts.
Just wanted to give you guys a taste of it. So before we have a discussion, we will let you take a look at it. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, we'll find a way for you to see it.
Godspeed.
Godspeed.
Welcome, foolish travelers. Welcome to the cave of the evil sorceress, Massacre. No doubt you seek this area's prized possession, the magical ruby of death, the Sultan's heart. You see, whoever possesses the Sultan's heart controls its amazing magical powers. Hark! Someone approaches. So sit back and enjoy the 8th Voyage of Sinbad.
careful. This cave is supposedly filled with traps, demons, and trouble. You know, buddy, if we play our cards right, this could be our best voyage yet. But remember, this is the home to evil sorceress, Missouri.
Who's afraid of her?
Really, Bob?
Yeah. I can take her with one arm tied behind my back. Maybe even two. Hey, Missouri, we said that ain't goodbye. Take your best shot.
Voice down. Very funny. Always play around.
You know, I think this place is cursed. Now we know this place is cursed.
Well, we are in a cave known as the Grotto of Lost Souls.
Souls, not other children. Sorry, Sinbad. I forgot the first rule of being a hero.
Having great hair.
I was gonna say courage.
Right? Courage and great hair.
At least he's got courage.
What?
Ooh, hey! Check this out. That's the biggest rule I've ever seen. Whoop. I came on like the red ball. I never meant to. Oh, hey, what's in here? Sinbad! My hand! This place is enchanted! Yoo-hoo! I can. Oh, there's something happening over there!
Stop that!
There's nobody around here!
Wow. It's not a demon.
That's the prettiest demon I've ever seen.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Oh, you're right, she's hot.
Princess.
Well, courage and great hair.
That's what I say. Wow.
Hurry, Sinbad.
Right. Finally, the Sultan's heart. It is real. Where'd it go?
I don't know. Sinbad! Sinbad, let me cover you!
Princess.
Let me cover you! What fools these mortals be! Sinbad!
So that was the 8th voyage of Sinbad. Not the full thing, obviously, just bits and pieces of it. If you couldn't tell, for those who are watching, it's atrocious. It's just awful. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
End of review.
We'll see you next Thursday on the Universal.
So, okay. The 8th voyage of Sinbad is in the Lost Continent. And for those of you who are confused, the Lost Continent and Islands of Adventure, the Lost Continent is also where Poseidon's fury is, along with Mythos. Jesus. Help me. Along with Mythos, the restaurant that we reviewed earlier in the year. And it is that big, giant section that is very beautiful, especially at night. But deep down, we all just wish that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter would take over it already.
Keep expanding outward.
And, before I always made fun of Sinbad without giving it a chance. So I finally gave it a chance. And
Wait, had you not seen it before?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, of course not.
I thought you'd seen it, didn't like it, and then we're giving it another chance. So.
No. This was my first chance I was giving it. I was proud to make fun of it, not knowing whether or not it would be good. And I was justified in my reaction to it because it is just as bad as I was expecting it to be. So for those of you who don't know out there, and you couldn't pick it up from the little video, so the story follows Sinbad, not the comedian. It would be a lot better if it was Sinbad the comedian. It'd be a lot funnier, that's for sure.
You'd be looking for a Turbo Man.
and his sidekick, Kebab, which is shortened in the show to Bob at times.
Just completely racist and borderline inappropriate.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good.
They should have just called him Tarragon or something like.
So then there's the princess who is trapped, and the villain Mysteria calls all her minions out there, and we can sit here and bicker and moan and argue over what the plot is. The fact is, there isn't really one. It's just a bunch of random, what they call stunts, thrown together.
Yeah.
In just a dysfunctional mismatch.
You know what? This looks like the high school production of a thing called Stunts.
Yeah. This reminds me of like whenever you're a kid and you're making
play fighting in the
wrestling
backyard.
videos
Yeah.
and play fighting. For some reason, every time Sinbad punches someone, he has to jump. And he does a jump punch.
Clearly, you've never been in a bar fight before, then, because
And
it
if you
looks
can-
like a West Side Story production.
If you can find something to like, first I'm going to jump on this rock and then I'm going to jump and punch you, that's what I'm going to do. It happens way too much. The girl, the princess, she made this one in this show. I feel bad if you're out there. I know that as stunt actors and actresses, and you have to worry about each other's safety. You get as close as possible without putting yourselves in harm. Mm-hmm. But I feel like watching this show, if you're going to be like that far away from actually hitting and just rely on those sound effects, don't even do it at all.
It'd be like me swinging at you, like, whoa. And it just, we had a, whoa, gotcha, right in your noggin, which you can't really tell, but we're like 10 feet away from each other.
And let's be fair. Some of the effects they use are impressive, especially like the fire effects and doing a lot of the pyrotechnics in the show. I'm a good fan of pyrotechnics. Pyrotechnics aren't stunts.
Right.
It's, I want to see a realistic fight, but depending on what angle you're at in the theater, you can tell that they are 2 feet apart from hitting each other. And, that goes into how the actors play it off too. Whenever you over-exaggerate getting hit and it came nowhere near you, it just looks bad. It looks fake. And that happened way too much during this show. And
it looks like it wants to be the Adam West Batman. You know how they used to like punch, every time you go to punch somebody, they completely bend over, and it's like you've got the, you're always hitting in the gut, but this looks like a terrible version of that. Like I find it offensive, to be honest. Like it's almost like, I don't even know what it is. There's even a shot in that video where the princess goes to punch the guy, and it's clear like they're all waiting for the next move. They're not waiting for the current move. It's kind of like
so rehearsed.
she like raises the elbow, and the guy's like, "Oh, okay, wait a second. I gotta get Gotta get my stretch position to do the backflip that your punch is gonna cause.
See, as a child, I was a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the fight scenes remind me of
How
the fight
dare
scenes
you?
in...
How dare you?
No, they were good in Buffy, but they
Yes.
remind me of the fight scenes in Buffy, I imagine, as they were rehearsing them, because it seems like so...
This is everybody had sweatpants on, and they're like, "Well, we've kind of sketched out this
Yeah,
idea."
let me show you what we've got.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, let's sit down and, put on a show.
Yeah. Well, it feels, like I said, it feels very 90s. It definitely is that 90s stunt show vibe. Like, I remember the Batman and Robin stunt show at Six Flags in Massachusetts, and that was so much better than this, because it's freaking Batman and Robin in their suits with the Batmobile and the stuff they're doing. And they even made fun of the fact that they're punching and using the punching sound effect. But this is like just a bunch of asshats running around. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Good word choice.
I can't think about it.
Fantastic. Parental advisory on this one. It's fine. It's fine.
Donkey hats, excuse me.
Donkey. We can say that now. Donkey. The next issue we have with this is something that is recurring with the shows we talk about at Universal. We brought it up with Beetlejuice. I'm hoping we don't get flamed. Like, whenever we ripped apart Beetlejuice, we had some people who were actually in the show be offended by us. But, I mean, you have to... when you put yourself out there, like we do, you have to be ready for the bad comments. And I can't say we're always gracious about the bad comments, but hey, that's life. We talked about it with Beetlejuice, though. We talked about it with Horror Makeup Show, and it comes back in Sinbad. One of the easiest things they can do is the ad-lib jokes. And we talked about it, with Disaster 2, the jokes. Again, why... can they only make fun of Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga, the same people over and over again? There was no Lindsay Lohan joke in this one. I guess we got lucky there.
Oh, wow.
But we did hear Wrecking Ball in it. He had to sing Wrecking Ball for some reason that made absolutely no sense. You picked up on the Meghan Trainor joke in there.
Oh, God, yeah. He's all about that gold. No silver. No silver.
I've seen a few versions of the show. There was one as well where I seen them incorporate the whip and the nay in the show. Yeah, I know, it was cringeworthy. Absolutely cringeworthy. It's like they just pluck at whatever's in pop culture right now, just to cling on to...
It's like it wants to try and be like, well, people like when we do it in Bill and Ted, but no. We like Bill and Ted, we don't like you.
Bill and Ted's, I think it works so well because it's aware of itself.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's almost like, no, take us seriously, when it's like,
yeah.
No, I'm not going to.
Yeah, we can't compare Bill and Ted to something like this, especially when Bill and Ted, although some of the jokes by the time even the show rolls around are already outdated and a little worn, they still try to incorporate some of the most recent ones as long as they can. Where there was not a single joke that had any relevance in this entire thing. So, if we can't get the laugh, we'll make fart noises too.
Oh my gosh.
Love the fart noises at Universal. And I mean, at some point, I guess the next...
farts are universal.
The next thing we'll have to do, we'll have to knock out the rest of the shows. So we're going to have to go see Fear Factor.
Oh my, I've never seen
that
it.
up for
We
the Hall
should
of Fame.
audition for Fear Factor.
Oh, we should see if we can do it.
Yeah. Because I think one of the requirements is basically like you just have to be able to hold yourself up on a bar for like 3 minutes or something. So basically just dangling.
Do that.
We'll see about that. Someone's got to film it. I just... Why is Universal so bad? It shows.
It's a shame because I like the Grinch, the holiday show is good. I like the Terminator show, but that's not. I feel like that's different because it really relies heavily on the James Cameron film part of the show. So it's like a both element.
The Jim Carrey?
The James Cameron?
Wait, are you not still talking about it?
No, I started talking about Terminator 2.
Oh, I stopped paying attention.
Oh,
sorry.
I lost you. You lost me at, and I'm going to start talking.
I heard Grinchmas, so I assumed whenever I picked it back up, it would still be Grinchmas. Clearly, I was wrong.
I was trying to move through a little faster than normal. But...
Oliver, you don't know this yet as much, but we don't listen to each other talk on this show.
and
We just
he
drown
knows
out.
when I do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm listening. That's why I'm not talking as much.
Well, I like the Terminator show, but you know,
See, I actually really enjoy. I know you said you're not a big fan of what was it? What show was it a second ago?
Barney.
No, not
Beetlejuice?
Barney. Beetlejuice. I loved Beetlejuice.
Well,
I
okay.
think,
When was the last time you saw it?
about 18 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So-
I just needed to know you see it
Yeah.
in your adult life, so you just have bad taste.
in
then,
my
yeah.
adult life. I've
Okay.
seen it, and I didn't hate it. I actually quite enjoyed that, and I actually think the horror makeup show as well is very good.
No, we like the horror.
Yeah,
makeup
we
show.
like it as long as it's the right talent that's doing it.
Yeah, I've seen you get good casts and bad casts,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying like they can do good shows, and Bill and Ted's amazing, but like this, they just seem so.
So this
off,
show's
like,
unacceptably bad.
It's
Sinbad is the worst.
Yeah.
It is the worst show.
it feels old. It's like we were saying earlier before we went on. It feels like it's a show for the 90s, and it never.
Well,
grew
you said
up,
that thing about the
so-
set too.
Oh, what? It looks like a cheap rip-off of the Goonies set.
Yeah.
It
They
really
were
does.
like-
Somebody else was saying that in chat earlier.
Like, oh, we were trying to make this thing, and then
Yeah, we've got
guess we
this
can-
lying around. We should probably just use it.
Can anybody do cartwheels? We could probably do a show here. Cartwheels? Cartwheels? Cartwheels.
I feel that's how they did the casting for it as well.
Yeah, like,
Can you do a cartwheel?
and not even a good one. It can be like the monkey one where your legs are bent.
This, of course, falls into our range of so bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
It has no redeeming factors about it. I feel like even if I got liquored up, went to watch this show with a big group of friends and just tried to make fun of it, even then, I would still feel uncomfortable if I was the person who suggested we go do this.
Yeah.
Like,
They're not.
I hope
gonna
they're
let
not
me
judging
choose
me for
anything
saying
else. Yeah.
like,
I would rather what you've just said. I'd rather watch the Beetlejuice show repeatedly.
yes. I still don't think the Beetlejuice show was good. It
It's
was
not
better
terrible.
than this.
But it could be the fun bad that you, not Sinbad.
Oh. I was going to say something awful. I was going to say, you said this. There was so many pyrotechnics in there. You might get lucky and something might go horribly wrong, which might make it,
Wow. Oh,
good
marginally
God,
interesting.
Oliver. It's one of those ambulance chaser over there.
You sleep on that tonight.
It's just it's one of those things where I feel like it's not I don't like shows where it's too chatty. When it's like we talked about Lights Motors Action, and you were saying like the stunts in Lights Motors Action were good. It was the in between that was like
Yeah.
it was too much. There's no way to say it. Too much crap in the middle. That just is what it is. It's just crap. It's not good stuff. And this show is all crap with like not even like. It's the dialogue is so cheesy. Like who sits there, writes that, and goes, "Oh yeah, I've got it."
It feels
This
like a
is the
first
gem."
draft.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
it feels like a no draft. It feels like my nephew wrote it. I'm not trying to. I'm getting real negative, and I really don't mean to spiral down that hole. But it's just this type of a humor. It's like it's outdated. It's the '90s stunt show where it's like, oh, they're so like over the top. It's too big. Everything's too. The motions, the speech, I don't know. Everyone's just a big donkey in that show.
It's bad. So, of course, this, while it played off as a review, this, of course, is our way of nominating it into the Diz Universal Hall of Fame.
God, can we shut that down real fast?
I don't think we're going to have any problem with this one on what's going to happen with it, but we always have to do it. We put in our opinion, and then we put up a post on the board and on the boards in the Diz Unplugged section, letting you all out there vote on whether or not you want to see Sinbad in the Universal Hall of Fame. I'm going to start with Rhino. Give me whether or not you think it should.
Yeah, sure. No, obviously not. Never. Yeah, it's like what you said, Craig. It's so bad, it's bad. And honestly, I don't even. Like, there's some stuff that's been bad where I've said, oh, I have an attachment to it because it's part of the opening park or whatever. No, this should never even have existed. And I'm sorry to offend anybody that does enjoy it. That's just me.
Oliver.
A resounding no. And you hit the nail like on the head. It's not so bad it's good. It is so bad it's just terrible. Like, don't waste your time. The best thing about Sinbad is walking up to it and you might get to interact with the fountain out front. That's the best thing about Sinbad.
The Mystic Fountain, which is a separate attraction on itself.
It is, but it's, in close proximity.
I dislike Sinbad show so much. I would consider becoming a part of like the PCL construction whenever they finally tear this thing down, just so I can take a sledgehammer to it. In such a park that it's redefining itself with upgrades like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and I think Seuss is still relevant and fun every time I'm in there. Jurassic Park is getting better and better. Kong is going to blow us away. Hopefully Secret Life of Pets is added into Toon Lagoon area and just gives that a little bit of an update. Is
that a rumor?
That's a big rumor. Yeah. Big rumor. And then obviously they're starting to invest back into Marvel Superhero Island, starting with the Hulk, giving it a little bit of a refresher. They are ready to start focusing again back on Islands of Adventure, and this area just needs to go. It's time. I know I'm back and forth on Lost Continent because I do love the architecture inside, and I don't find anything offensive about Mythos except for our awful server that we had there.
Yeah.
But
what's
this
that
is
other
just
attraction?
A waste of space. Poseidon's Fury.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. It's a waste of space. No, it shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. If I see one vote yes,
You're banned from the boards.
shutting down the boards. No, you're not banned. I'm just shutting it down. I'm going to call Pete. I'm going to say we're done. Turning off the boards. Turning them off for good.
You've ruined it for everybody.
So we'll have the link to the thread in the show notes where you can find it again. It'll be in the Diz Unplugged podcast forum on disboards.com. You'll be able to find it there a little bit at some point after this, whenever I feel like making it. Let's be honest. But thank you guys so much for participating. This has been a fun episode. I'm glad to finally be back after such a long hiatus. And I can't wait to see what we pull off next week. Don't know. We'll figure it out next week. But no, of course, in the meantime, if you want links to anything that we talked about on today's show, head to disunplug.com. That's where you'll find our show notes for this show, the Blue Universal section, as well as all of the other shows we have on the Diz Unplugged podcast network. And also in there, you'll find a link. We are looking for contributors on the Diz Universal site to help out writing articles. So if you feel like you can help us out with writing articles, if you get published, I believe it's like $50 a pop on it. So
pretty good.
Anyone that can help out on it, go ahead, click that link, sign up to be a contributor. We'll see if you can make it in. Also there, you'll find links to all our social media pages. So that way you can get in touch with us however you want on the Diz Universal Facebook or Twitter, or heck, you might even just find our own pages that we have and try to connect in that way. I'll talk to you on Twitter. I won't talk to you on Facebook. It's nothing personal. I hate Facebook. Love Twitter. Love to tweet.
You do love a good tweet.
Tweedly diddly deet. So
Tweedly, tweedly. Sorry, I just watched that episode of The Office. All 4 parts.
Rock and Robin. And also, if you like this video, remember, now's the time to hit that thumbs up button. 3 thumbs down before we started, very suspicious. Hit the thumbs up button. For those of you who are listening to this via iTunes, go out and leave us a review. Let us know what you think about Oliver. We need to add him in the mix now. He's here. He's here to stay. So go ahead and leave us our feedback. Write comments on it. We'll try to answer if we find it necessary to. But of course, thank you guys so much. Everyone out there who took the time to watch and listen to this and always put up with our antics and shenanigans each week. I don't understand why. I just don't get it. But thank you so much for it. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. Until then, our resolutions.
Oh, fudge.
Until then, Sinbad, not universal.